Hi, this is Mike Capuzzi, the founder of Bite-Size Books. And for the past 20 years, I've been helping business owners, entrepreneurs, and corporate executives create better, more effective marketing. And on my episode for the Business Growth Architect Show, I'm going to show you how you can and should write and publish a short, helpful book so that you can stand out and create a level of authority that your competition doesn't have.
Hello, fabulous person. Beate Gillette here, the Growth Architect. Welcome back to the Business Growth Architect Show, where we bring you cutting-edge business strategies from some of the world's most successful entrepreneurs, business transformation experts, and visionaries who want to help you to scale your impact. Look for one tangible strategy that you can take back and implement right away. And now back to our guest. Welcome back. This is your host, Beate Gillette, and this is the Business Growth Architect Show. And today we are having with us Mike Capuzzi, who is very knowledgeable about books and knows a thing or two. So Mike, tell our audience who you are and what makes you so special and what do we need to know about you, and welcome.
Beate, thank you very much. I appreciate this opportunity. Well, I guess if you ask my two daughters what makes me special, it's probably a different answer than what I'll share here. But I would say, I've been in business, my own business for over 20 years now, have a pretty good track record of helping business owners, entrepreneurs, CEOs with creating a higher level of marketing that connects with people. What we focus on now, these past few years, 100% focus actually, is helping business owners, entrepreneurs, and CEOs write and publish what we call short, helpful books. So these are nonfiction, business-oriented books that are about 100 pages, about a 1-hour read, and they're the ideal type of book for many people to publish. So that's what we do these days.
That's fascinating, and that's one of the reasons I wanted you to be on the show today. Is I felt that the idea about writing a book is a book that obviously almost everyone I have ever met in my entire life goes, I have to write a memoir. I should write a business book. This story is just too crazy to believe it. Does everybody need to have a book?
Does everybody need to? I don't think need. There might be a want instead of need, but I would change that and say I can contend that a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs and corporate executives should have a book. If they want to differentiate themselves, if they want to stand out, if they want to have a marketing asset that has years of life in it. You're an author and I'm an author. Being a book author definitely puts you in a different category, even in today's age. It's still a minority of people that make the effort of actually writing a real book.
Excellent. Thank you for the differentiation and the specificity with this. So this is about writing a business book, a nonfiction book. So this is not about memoirs. So for those of you who wanted to write your life story, sorry. But for those of you who want to, as the name of this show suggests, have a business strategy, let's dive into that. So what is strategy for you? What does it mean in your world of these short, helpful books, Mike?
Yeah, and it's interesting. I'm always constantly going back between strategy and tactics, right? So there's a difference, right? Strategy, to me, it's the higher level plan to create a specific and intentional outcome. Like, you want to obtain something, you have a goal. Strategy, to me, is the plan that you put in place to achieve that. And that plan consists of tactics, ideas, all the sort of fundamental things. But to me, the strategy is the high level, sort of the 100,000-foot level of the plan.
Thank you. And so as we're looking into the strategy as you have it built out for these short, helpful books, is that your favorite strategy you're going to share with us today?
Yeah, because I think it's different, Beate. I think it's unique. Again, we can talk about the power of writing a book, but then a lot of people don't have the time. A lot of people don't have the focus, the energy. Writing a short book, much shorter than a traditional business book, is a lot faster. It's a lot quicker. And guess what? A lot of readers appreciate that. So yeah, it's a very smart strategy, either for first-time authors, book authors, or even people who've written a number of books. There's no reason why you can't have a short book on a very specific topic and get that out there and working for you each and every day. So yeah, I call it, you mentioned our short, helpful books. I call those shooks, right? So short, helpful book, we call them a shook. And I always teach folks about what I call a shook-centric marketing strategy. It's about how do you use a shook, a short, helpful book, as the centerpiece for your marketing. So that's a top strategy for me.
All right, so let's dive into that. So now I am a business owner, I'm a CEO, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a founder. I have a unique idea. So let's say in the ideal world, you worked with someone like me, a business growth architect, and we figured out what your unique value proposition is, unique positioning statement. You know why you're different. Now I go and I say, Mike, help me out here. I need to get this out in front of more people. I got my business cards, I got my website, I go to conferences, I shake a lot of hands, but nothing really sticks. I feel like I need to make a bigger impact. And this is all about growing your authority, scaling your impact. Now I come to you. Take me through what's going on in my mind. Like where am I mentally? Where do I even start?
Great question. And there's a lot to unpack there. So I'll probably forget a bit of it, but I want to talk about the unique recipe of a shook and why that's important for the person that you're describing. And then how do you use it? Okay. So my background, Beate, is I'm a direct response marketing consultant. So direct response marketing is a unique type of marketing where the whole point of it is really to elicit response. So I've been doing this for 20 years. And the shook formula, the shook recipe, it's a direct response book. So these are books that are meant to be sales tools. Yes, they provide helpful information, right? That's right in the title of it. But it's also meant to get readers who want more from you, readers who get what you're sharing in your book, to raise their hand and reach out to you. So they're really sales tools. So the first thing is I get folks to start thinking a little bit differently. This is not about a 200 to 300 page book that will take. I just had a gentleman on my podcast. It took him 7 years to write his first book. Guess what? He's writing a shook right now, and he says he's going to have it done within like 2 months. Because again, shorter, more focused. So now he knows he has a very specific topic he wants to hit on that would sort of be really well put out in a specific short book versus a bigger book. So it really is about thinking about it differently, Beate. It's about again, creating a marketing device, a marketing asset that you can use. Now, all of our authors, the primary type of book, it's a printed book, right? So here's a couple of my shooks. These are real books. You see them behind me. I always say, people are like, oh, can't I just do a digital book or an ebook? Well, it's kind of hard to autograph an ebook. And that's really a reality. So when you're at conferences, when you are shaking hands, or when you're out there meeting people, to be able to pull out a short, helpful book and give it to somebody, and often they'll say, hey, can you sign it for me? That's powerful. So, different type of book, printed books, that's what we primarily use. And then using them in a variety of ways that makes them, very effective. So if you want, I can go deeper into that.
Excellent. So I want to just point out for those of you who are listening on the podcast and don't have the video in front of you. So Mike was holding up these very thin, small paperback books. They look like they're perfect for a purse, or yes, they're very small, very little, easy to carry around. So the idea now is, as the busy owner of my company, now I'm in a conversation, and I love that you said you're from direct response marketing. And I love that it is a strategy that ties back into an actual business objective, because why bother otherwise, right? I mean, a lot of people, they do all kinds of stuff, and then you wonder, what was the purpose behind this? Right. I mean, did you mean to accomplish anything with this? But this I can see, so I carry my little stash, my secret stash around when I'm on these conferences. Mm-hmm. Now I'm meeting someone, and they say, "What do you do?" And then I can say something along the lines, "Oh, not just am I going to tell you what I'm going to do, but I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to show it to you because I've taken sort of this essence of what my message is in one book." So here's my question now: most people that I meet are a little challenged, if we're really, really honest, to put what's the essence of what I do in a short short idea. You know where I'm going with this, Mike?
Oh, absolutely.
So I want to come to you and I want to vomit.
Yes.
The knowledge vomit of everything I've ever done in my entire life in 100 pages. Help me out here, Mike.
Well, first of all, Beate, I'm going to put a little plug, and this is for you too. Check out the interview I just did on my podcast. It's with a woman. Her name is Sam Horn. Sam has written a ton of books, one of which I've been using for like 15 years. It's called POP, P-O-P with an exclamation mark. And it's about how to have a succinct, pithy, which means tight, short message. And we had a great conversation. I just posted it last week.
And just give us the name of your podcast so everybody can check it out.
Yeah, theauthorfactor.com, theauthorfactor.com. But Sam Horn, amazing interview. I love her books. That's why I wanted her on the podcast, because it's been so helpful to me. So you're 100%. I love it because you're 100% right. As a matter of fact, I have a quote. I don't know if I can find it real quickly. It's by Blaise Pascal. And let me just see if I can find it. And it's from like 1687 or something. Let me see if I can find it. If not, I'll here it is. So Blaise, he's a French author, 1657. So a little while ago, he says, I've made this letter longer than usual only because I've not had the time to make it shorter. And if you think about that for a moment, it's easy to sort of just vomit like you suggested, right? Yeah, blah, 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 right? It's much harder to get your thoughts in line and focus and tight so that the person who's either reading or you're speaking to gets it. It's not easy, and it is a challenge, and it's something we work on very hard with our clients, Beate. We work very hard in getting them to have a succinct, pithy message.
Excellent. I'm going to make an assumption, Mike. Now that I'm going to write a short book, I'm going to come to you. You're going to give me some sort of a template idea on how I'm going to take everything that I know and I'm going to cut the fat. One of my favorite quotes, and you just gave me a great quote, which I have heard and which I love, from Albert Einstein. And he says, if you can say it simply, you don't understand it well enough. And this is along the same lines that if you are not clear what it is that you do, you can say it very quickly. And so how do I go about, and I think this is probably the biggest thing anybody wants to know from you right now. How do I cut the fat? How do I get to the essence of what I'm trying to say?
Real quick, I just wrote down knowledge vomit. I might have to use that. So thank you for that. I've never heard of knowledge vomit, but it's so true. I work with a lot of lawyers, and lawyers have a lot of knowledge vomit. So it's a challenge. So listen, there's no magic pill. This is, when I work with a client, Beate, you work directly with me. So if you were doing a shook, we're doing what we're doing right now. We're on Zooms. I have a very methodical approach. I don't, farm it out to anybody else. This is, you take my 20 plus years, it's almost 25 years now, of experience. And I drill down and I go through it's an iterative process. It takes on average about 8 to 12 weeks to write a shook, but it's a step-by-step process where we literally extract it. And I get you very focused, very specific on not only your goals for your readers, but your own goals, because a lot of book authors don't have goals. And then we really dive deep into what are the succinct messages we can craft around a very focused book topic.
I love that. And for everybody listening and watching this, we are obviously going to put it in the show notes on how to get a hold of Mike. If you are wanting a shook, you want to be a book author with a purpose that ties back into your business, reach out to Mike and we'll give you all the information on where to go on that in just a minute. So my question to you is, so how does a direct response marketer who is in this high-powered environment of open rates, click-through rates, response rates, are they listening? Why are you listening to me? Look at me, look at me, look at me. What made you do the shift to go to this?
Well, what's even more interesting, Beate, is actually my degree from college is engineering. So I'm an engineer, which actually helps with this sort of system, the system and strategy we discussed. I published my first book in 2007. So I'm a voracious reader. I've always been a voracious reader. So I think it's a love of books. I have a huge library over here to my right. I've met some of the most amazing people and the most amazing ideas through books. So it's just a love of books that really got me focused on writing my own books. And then just seeing so many business owners, who say, I should write a book. I just don't know how. or maybe they don't even think they should write a book, but they really ought to. So it's just been a passion of mine for over a decade, more focused recently. I think it's just the love of books. And the other thing is I love seeing going from an idea and a concept, something you can't even see, to, here's one of our, I know people can't see if they're not watching, but here's one of our lawyer shooks. So from idea to printed book in about 3 months is pretty cool.
When I was a photo editor at Elle magazine in Germany, and before that at one of those very cool Zeitgeist magazines, back when Zeitgeist was a word, I remember there really isn't anything like it when something that you created shows up and it's tangible. I mean, there's nothing like it. It's an unbelievable feeling to go and say, I've done this. So here you have it, people. I love the strategy about writing a book. I love the strategy about making a short book. The reason my book, Happy Woman, Happy World, is only a paperback and it is a small book. The chapters are written so that you can, and I'm going to just say this out loud because that was the strategy, so you can read it in the bathroom, one chapter at a time. That's how I laid out my book.
I love it.
And I wanted women to leave it in the bathroom so that when men, use the restroom, that book lays around and they have nothing else to read, so that they'll also get the information. That's how I engineered the experience. And it worked because people said, oh yeah, no, I left it in the bathroom like you suggested. And my husband did read it. And subsequently, I think he understands a lot more about what I'm thinking, what I'm going through. So this idea of having this short, quick tool is brilliant. I love it. So let's talk about how can our audience find out more about you if they're interested in learning how to write a short and helpful book.
Well, thank you very much for that. A couple of places, Beate. We mentioned my podcast, so theauthorfactor.com. My personal site that I've had for years is mikecapuzzi.com. I have a gift for your listeners, so they can actually read 2 of my shooks online for free. It's a hidden link, but if they go to mikecapuzzi.com/gifts, GIFTS, plural, you can get the 2 shooks there. And then our publishing company is Bite-Sized Books, so bite-sized with a D, books.com.
Thank you so much. And before I let you go, I want to ask you probably the most important question of today's interview. But Mike, I don't think I can write. I'm not a writer.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say to me?
Oh my gosh, should we have another half hour? We hear it all the time, Beate, and it's understandable. I always say, listen, the kind of short, helpful books we create, they're not meant to be literary masterpieces. They're not meant to be, War and Peace and some New York Times bestseller. They're meant to be a 1-hour conversation in written format, in the format of a book. Okay. So I always say, and this will answer your question, I always encourage people, focus on personality, not perfection. Don't worry about having perfect grammar and perfect this and perfect that. It'll be good because we're going to work together. But no book is perfect, Beate. None. No book is perfect. Focus on personality. You want readers to, engage with you, nod their head as they're reading, want more from you. And it's really about focusing on creating that personal connection with readers and trying to encourage those that really want more from you to take that action, and not worried about, am I writing the best way? Am I smart enough? That will come. If you're helping people today in your business, you can and ought to consider writing a short, helpful book.
Yes, I'm with you on that. I have in my book, I have a chapter that's about the triple paradox. One of it is called the superhuman paradox. And it says that we look at all of our friends, everybody we know, and we see only the stuff that they're really, really good at. And then we desire to be the combination out of the perfect 10 of all of our friends combined. And that is the unrealistic expectation that prohibits us from ever doing what we're supposed to do.
Yes, absolutely.
So now a perfectionist shows up at your door. What do you tell the perfectionist?
Well, 2 potential pathways. One, much like a lot of people I do, we always do an initial call with folks to see if it's a good fit. Okay. So if for some reason I'm getting my guts going off that it's just not someone I can work with, then we're not going to work with them. I'm at a point in my career, Beate, where I can probably pretty much pick and choose. I'm not just starting out. So I'm past the point of having to work with everybody. But for the person who is working and we get, and it happens, trust me, it's just, we talk it out. I mean, that's the best thing I can say is we talk it out. They know there's a certain word count we're trying to hit. They know that, things have to, it's always about just keeping things tight and focused, because just like I can, have knowledge vomit on this podcast, it's about trying to keep it focused.
I love that. Thank you so much for that, Mike. So here you have it, people. So let's make sure that you understand that one of these core ideas around a short and helpful book is not to try to win the Pulitzer Prize or to have an essay in the front page on the New York Times, but it is about flushing out, and I think it's going to be probably a brilliant exercise about flushing out what's in your head and how to take all this convoluted and often overcomplicated, unnecessarily overcomplicated thought process that so many business owners have, where they go, only I can do this, only I can. And then when you ask them why, you can't even understand what they're doing. And I see this all the time in my work as a business growth architect, when I work with my private clients or with the clients in my mastermind, when we help build to grow their authority and scale their impact, is that they're just not even clear what makes them unique. And so this is, I think, a phenomenal exercise, Mike, from what you've just shared with us, to flush it out and to go in and say, can I get myself to take everything that I know, whatever the 10 years, the 20 years, the 30 years that I've done this, and drill it down in such a way that it's concise enough to get the main message across. I also find, and I don't know how you feel about this, and we do have a couple minutes left, so I want to make sure I get everything out of you for our listeners that I can. So oftentimes I may have more than one idea. Mm-hmm. So I may have, and I've just been through this with my stuff being flushed out. Scaling impact, what's that mean? Growing authority, what's that mean? Growing a business, what does that mean? A strategist, what's that mean? So these kinds of concepts. So is your process helping me to figure out what my core concept is? Tell me a little bit more about that.
First of all, I love these questions. These are really smart questions. And these are on the fly. Like these are very smart questions. So a couple things. Yes. Again, I write about it in my own shooks. One of the beautiful outcomes of doing this, writing this shook, is that you will come up with a much clearer, more succinct way of describing what you do. It happens for many, many, many of our clients, Beate. We also have, I mentioned our shooks follow a direct response formula recipe. There are very specific chapters that I essentially, they're not even optional. I make my authors write them that are on things. I call it, like one of the chapters, I call it the special sauce chapter. It's about the unique value proposition. It's about the unique value process. I help them uncover that. So yes, it's definitely an outcome. The other thing I just want to mention, when you have 10, 20 years of experience, the beauty of shooks is that you can have a library of them. You see my library behind me, right? Rather than have a 400-page, A to Z book, you can have 4 100-page books that address specific things. And I'll give you a quick example, Beate. I work with an attorney who's an elder law attorney. She is now up to 4 shooks, 2 on Alzheimer's disease and 2 on dementia. And she broke them out. They're quick reads, but it also allows her to market them differently. One's for Alzheimer caregivers, one's for Alzheimer patients, one's for dementia caregivers, one's for dementia patients. This granular focus, not only do the readers appreciate it, but it allows her a better way to market her law practice. So yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of doing these short, helpful books. They're focused and you can have a library versus one long book.
Yes. And I think that let's just point this out, because I think that this is probably one of the things people misunderstand. The world is not your customer. So if I can focus and narrow down to one specific avatar, one particular message that'll make all the difference in the world. So in my work, and I bet that as a direct response writer, you were up against this all the time. So people say, well, who is the avatar? Who is the customer profile? Who do I want to reach? And then it's 2, 3, 4, or 5. And then the language becomes so trite and so broad that nobody feels that you're reaching them. And I always see this, it's just like a thing for me. When I go on other, colleagues' websites and they say, so you can build the life you always wanted to have. And I go, what's that mean? What does that mean? The life you always wanted to have. So because you don't know what I want and you can write to that, you just come up with a trite statement that I have heard, millions and millions and millions of times before. So this particular strategy, and again, this is why I wanted to speak to you. I want to make sure that we've pointed this out very, very clearly. It will force you to make sure that you get clear about one piece that goes to one person that has a particular idea, outcome in mind to achieve. So there's 3 pieces to this, if I hear this right, Mike. What is the message? Who does this message go to? And what is the outcome I want from this particular person? Am I missing anything?
No, at a high level, that's exactly it. And I just want to prove it to you. 100% of our Shook clients, I know, again, people aren't going to see it, but I'll show it to you, Beate. The very first chapter is a chapter we force people to write called Who Should Read This Book? Very first chapter, because what we're trying to do is get people who may have picked this thing up that aren't our ideal readers, right? We're not trying to get people who aren't our ideal readers. We're not worried about them. We're only worried about the people that we know we can help. And we outline it very specifically as the first chapter of a Shook. Just to further elaborate and prove your point.
And so that, again, to point this out as a marketing strategy to our listeners, that's a vetting tool. Yes. That is, this is right for you if, or yes, you want to hear this message if, and then you go straight into the pain points. So again, there you have it, people. Here is Mike Capuzzi and I talking about short and helpful books called Shooks. You have it in the show notes and how to find him and connect with him if you want to do a short and helpful book as a marketing, outreach, and sales tool. Thank you so much, Mike, for being here. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And that's it for us today. Thank you for listening and watching the Business Growth Architect Show. I enjoyed having you here. And for accountability, just take one of the strategies that you have heard, one thing that you can implement in your business immediately. Please leave comments. Don't forget to like and share this show. And if you have any questions about business, please put them in the comments. We are here for you. We're here to support you and help you to grow, build, and scale your own business. For more advice, please check out our website in the show notes below. Thank you again. This is Beate Gillette, the Growth Architect, and goodbye.